Heidi, hi, mamas! Are you ready for the fiery session of the day?
Hello!
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday!
Sunshine.
I know, we're finally getting a bit of sunshine. We are Burnt Out Mamas and we've got one amazing guest for you today.
So excited to interview you.
So excited. This is Nana Crawford and she is the CEO of JiggleFit. So we're so excited.
Jiggle and balls.
Yeah, we're so excited to interview Nana. And I know Nana from her son has come to Boomart since a really young age. I've watched Nana's journey and she is just so inspiring. So I'm going to take it over to Nana. Can you tell us a bit about your journey and how you started JiggleFit and everything else about you, really?
So the one thing that people often think is that I've been dancing for years, and that's not the case as an actual dancer. I've loved music and I've loved dancing. And after I had my daughter Kiara, I tried to get back into fitness, and I was now I definitely know that I was in the wrong headspace for it, because when I tried to lose the weight, I was losing the weight because I thought I had to. You know, I put a lot of pressure on myself to get back to the person that I was before I had my daughter. And then I fell pregnant with my son. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to be pregnant again. So let's just go through this process. But it was a much more healthier pregnancy. I did lots of walking and exercise and everything. But then after I had him, I was like, right, I need to lose this weight. I need to get back to my former self. And after kind of trying different classes and stuff, I just stopped completely because I was just in such a negative headspace. So I decided I'm just going to focus on being a mum for a while and just see how that goes. And obviously it went great and my kids are amazing. But then I got to a stage where I'd focused so much on being mum that I kind of forgot who I was, and I just didn't really know what I had. And there was a time where I thought, well, if people ask me, like, what do you do? Besides describing like my job at the time, which was working for a charity and being a mum and a wife, that was kind of it for me. And it felt really weird to be like, I don't have anything else. So I was like, I need to find something that's mine. And my husband was like, why don't you get back into dancing? Because that's what you really love. And a friend of mine suggested Samba. Because she was like, oh, it looks really difficult and I know you love a challenge. And I was like, okay, fine. So I looked up a class and I went to a class. So this was in like 2020. And it was the most difficult thing I have ever done in my entire life. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I thought to myself, if I can get really good at this and make it look as easy as this teacher's making it look, then that's a real achievement for me. And that's basically what started it all for me. And I went to the class, then lockdown happened, of all things to happen. So throughout the whole of lockdown and that whole year, I basically spent most of my time learning Samba at home online. And what I loved about doing that is that not only was I kind of quite vulnerably putting myself out on Instagram when I decided to learn it, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to share tidbits with people and show people that I'm learning this new dance skill. But my kids loved the fact that I was doing this at home, and they would get involved and they would come and dance with me. And it was actually really, really nice to be able to find something for myself, but still involve my family and not have it feel like this is mine, you know, don't get involved, that kind of stuff. And I think that that's where the love of dance really kind of like came to life for me, and also for my son, and my daughter loves it as well now. But what I think the best thing out of all of that is that I realized that exercise doesn't have to look a certain way, you know, and it doesn't have to be what we think it is, which is going to the gym and, you know, running, all that kind of stuff. Exercise can be different. And for me, that's what Samba was. It was like this exercise that helped free my mind. It helped me reconnect with my body as well. It helped me realize that my body is actually far more incredible than I thought it was. And I wasn't appreciating it as much as I should have been. And that's basically how it all kind of started. And to get to JiggleFit, after I started learning Samba, I then took on more dances because I was feeling confident. I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I took on belly dance and I was like, yeah, I love it. Then I took on twerk and I was like, yeah, I love it. I just kept taking on as many things as I could possibly can.
Yeah.
And it got to the stage with twerk where someone said to me, like, they're like, oh, you're really good, maybe you should start teaching. And like, they're like, I love your story, I've watched you since the beginning and I've seen you progress, and I think a lot of people could learn from the way that you've learned to love yourself and love your body and move your body. And that's basically how it started. And I started with like a couple of online classes, and then in kind of 2023 I was like, I'm going to take this into a studio. And at the time I just called it Dance with Nana because I couldn't think of any other great names. So I was like, I'm just going to call it Dance with Nana, and if people want to dance with me, great. If they don't, then okay. And I just kept doing the classes, and then it kind of grew. And that's when I realized I'm really onto something and I need to brand it and make it something quite unique. And the thing that kind of stuck out, and it was actually my daughter that suggested Jiggle, because I do classes online at home. And she was like, oh, when I'm in my room, all I hear you scream is jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Like constantly. You're just shouting at people to jiggle. And she was like, maybe
simple but works.
I know, right? So I was like, okay, jiggle. And then obviously the fit comes from the fitness side of it, because that's what it is. It's I always wanted fitness to be fun. That was always my goal when I was looking for what to do for myself. And the fact that it's jiggle and it's fitness, I think the name already takes away the misconceptions that you're going to come and train really hard. That I really want people to hear the name and think, actually, this sounds like fun. This sounds like something that I can do. And that's kind of how it's grown. And it's grown bigger than I ever thought it could be, honestly. And sometimes I take a moment when I'm in class and look back and think, I can't believe all these women are here just to jiggle their bums with me.
You're a perfect example of why we wanted you on the pod, because 100%. You've taken something, your confidence is just like shining, and you've made it your own. And like you said, you had no sort of serious dance background, and it just shows you that anyone can do anything if you've got a dream. And how many followers have you got? Is it about 50,000?
Yeah, so JiggleFit, we just hit 50,000 followers on JiggleFit.
So are you viral on TikTok, and do you do online as well?
I do, yeah. So a couple of my videos have gone viral on TikTok. I think the biggest video had like 10 million views.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
And I have my own kind of like This Black Woman Can Instagram, where people love to see like my Samba journey and my Samba progress and everything. And the JiggleFit, I really want to turn that into a community, and I really want women to feel at home when they come there, and I want them to see themselves there and feel like this is a place that I can be, whether I'm in the UK, whether I'm abroad. I really feel like this is a great space for me to be and to learn and to feel like I can move my body unapologetically and just have people support me for it.
It's amazing.
That is amazing.
If we wanted to do your class, I'm dying to do your class now. Where would we find you?
So at the moment, I do online classes. So for those who can't get into London, I do online classes on Sundays at 8 p.m. And they're all recorded. So if you're kind of like, okay, Nana, 8 p.m, I'm done, I'm shattered, that's fine. You can still book it, and then you can get the recording, and then Monday morning you get into it. But my classes are currently on Mondays in Charing Cross around Covent Garden, and I do a beginners class at 6:30 and an all levels class at 7:50.
Amazing.
We've got to go.
I know. Well, I've already had my class with Nana, so me and Nana have got a little thing where we're dancing together at the moment. So it's been really fun. Oh, honestly, when we danced together, I was like pouring with sweat. I had to go home and change. I was like, my trousers are soaking. I was like,
really? That's some hobby.
Yeah, it was all
Samba.
We were doing Samba, and then we did locking as well. So, did you teach Cassius when
So when Cass came back from school, I was like, guess who I was with today? And he was like, and I was like, I was with Isla and she taught me locking. And he was like, yeah, well, I already know locking. And I was like, okay, well, let's see who can have the best locking then.
Oh, I love it.
We had like a lock off. So we were just...
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm ready to see this video of both of you doing a lock-in, like a little challenge. Oh no, Nana, honestly, on like another note, like you've been so inspiring to women, and I'd like just seeing your journey. And I also think for women, even when I had a baby, like I just put on a lot of weight, and being in the dance industry before, there was always such a big pressure on us. And I was saying this to you the other day, when we used to dance in front of mirrors, you would always be so conscious of your weight. And we didn't have mirrors when we were training, did we? And you were like, no, I like it that way. And I was like, no, I do as well, actually, because when back in the day, like we was always so weight conscious. And I think after I had a baby, it took me like a good 2 years to like feel myself again. And I think like for you, just taking that, like I think there's a lot of pressure on women on how we should look. And I think the main thing is just, I think if you love yourself, everyone else will love you. And I think that's the biggest inspiration for you. Me seeing you've got such a big aura around you of like, you love yourself, and that's why everybody else loves you and loves what you're doing,
and the confidence.
You carry this aura. And I think like for anybody, if they're in a really low place, like just learning to love yourself again, it's an aura you give off, and people are drawn to that aura. Like people are drawn to you. I'm drawn to you, like because you're inspiring.
You seem happy and just inspiring as well. Like you could teach us something. It's a bit of a leader.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice thing for all women, isn't it? And
if you're feeling crap, just get yourself out there, try something new.
Yeah.
You never know where it might end up, you know.
How did you feel that point of feeling like, I don't care what anybody thinks of me, I've got to this point where I really love yourself? What was like your journey of that?
So it's really interesting because a lot of people have asked me like what my turning point was, and I can't really pinpoint it and be like, oh, this was the moment, you know, December, whatever was it. It was never like that. It was, and I would still say that like every day is still a challenge, and it's not, when it comes to self-love and self-acceptance, you're always going to battle those negative thoughts. And the biggest part of your journey is learning how to battle those negative thoughts and how to kind of reframe how you see yourself and how to speak really positively about yourself to yourself. And I would say that like for me, it was little things like if people would compliment me, rather than being like, no, you know, like immediately decline anything that they've said something nice about me, I would just say thank you. And just having a moment to just go, oh, thank you for that comment, like thank you. And even just being able to look at myself and compliment myself and say, you know what, Nana, your hair looks banging today, or you know, I love this about you today, and actually saying it to myself loud, like in the mirror, loudly. And we do a lot of we do affirmations at the end of the classes as well, and sometimes it works for people and it doesn't work for other people, but it's not about it being like, you know, you have to do it like this. It's just about, what if you took a moment to say something really positive about yourself to yourself? Imagine the difference that could make. So I think for me, it's just been a number of different things, from like accepting compliments, giving compliments as well, like to other people. Like I will see another woman and I'll think there is something about this woman, and I'm going to compliment her today. And I'm going to say, I love your coat, I love your hair, love your jacket, love your shoes. I complimented someone the other day about their suitcase because their suitcase was so nice. And I did but it was funny because I was like, I love your suitcase. And she was like, you know what? I painted it myself. And I was like,
wow,
exactly right. And I never would have thought that. And then we got into this whole painting suitcase chat. And I was like, yeah, I'm never going to do that because I just can't be bothered. But I love that for you. I love the fact that you have the creativity and that you took your time. And, you know, she was like, no one's ever complimented my suitcase before. And I was like, well, I noticed it. And I think that's the thing that we often don't take time to do, is to notice the things about ourselves that we really like, and to take time to compliment other people as well. And I think what is really incredible about women in general is that, like, when we are on each other's side, we're so powerful, right? We're so incredibly powerful, so uplifting. But as soon as one woman turns on another woman, it can just become so negative and so awful. And I never want to be in that space, and I never want to create a space like that where people come and I start judging each other. No, it's like, you come here for yourself, but to also appreciate that there are people who don't look like you, who don't dance like you, who are different size to you, you know. And that's the kind of, I think once you learn to accept that you are different and that's okay, then you can kind of start to accept those differences about yourself and start to kind of really like love those differences. And I think for me, that was probably the turning point when I realized that like, I've worked really hard to get to this place in terms of dance. I've invested in myself. You know, I did my exercise to music training qualification whilst I was working full time. And I took the time to do that. And I have, you know, really turned myself around to be able to think positively about myself. And I think once you start to have those pieces together, that's when things can start to feel a lot more easier in terms of finding confidence. Because I don't think you can just like wake up one day and be like, today I'm confident, like, you know.
It's stuff you learn as well. The more you learn, gives you confidence as well, because it sort of reinforces your self-esteem.
Yes. 100%, yeah.
Everybody's unique, and this is what I try to tell people sometimes, like when they say, oh, I couldn't do that. Everyone or thousands of people are doing that idea, but you're bringing your own stance, your own uniqueness to that idea that might have been done 1,000 times, but you're making it your own, and people buy into you as well. So you know, like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to, if you want something, you have to put in, do the extra courses, work hard. I mean, sometimes I have to give, like my mum helps me out loads. She cooks for my little ones whilst I'm trying to study or build a brand in the background. And people are like, what are you actually doing today? And I'm like, it's just all the background work of building something that people don't get. And they're like, oh, wow, you've put this event on. And I was like, yeah, but it's involved a lot of planning. But equally, something does give, like the washing or you know, the housework, or it's never that I don't think that pure balance, is it?
No, never. And I think that people are often like, how do you do it all? Like, how are you managing everything? And sometimes I say to them, sometimes I don't, you know, sometimes things slip, but I have to give myself grace to be like, okay, it slipped for a reason because I was focusing on this and now I can get back on top of it. Plus, I have an insane calendar. I put time in for everything, like as much as possible, because my kids also have a very busy social calendar, class calendar, and everything else as well. So between them doing stuff, me doing stuff, my husband doing stuff, we have to find that balance to make it work. But you're right, not everything works out perfectly all the time, and often the amount of work that you put in behind the scenes is the stuff that no one ever sees. People just see like the end product and go, oh yeah, this is great, and it's, you know, one day thing or like a 1 hour class. But what people don't understand is, you know, that 1 hour class took me this amount of time planning. I had to plan my music, I had to do it around this, and, you know, all that kind of stuff that people don't often, I would say, like have time to appreciate. But then that's the stuff that I can appreciate for myself. And that's the stuff that I can look at and be like, you spent this time, like good on you for spending this time, for dedicating this time to do this, and to congratulate myself as well. I think we don't often congratulate ourselves. We think that, like, you know, that merit has to come from other people in order for us to feel successful or to feel that, you know, we've validated. It has to come from other people. But the biggest validation you're ever going to get is from yourself. And if you can't give yourself that validation, no one else is going to give it to you.
No.
Yeah, 100%.
I see as well, you've got such a supportive husband as well. You work as a team.
Yeah.
So that, I think, as well brings out a strength in a woman. When you've got that support and you both working as a team, you can build an empire together.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people are often like, oh, you're so lucky that your husband supports you. And I would say that lucky is probably not the word that I would use, because it's a lot of communication. You know, a relationship requires a lot of communication and balance And when I decided that this was something that I wanted to do, he was like, okay, how can I help? You know, what can I do to help? And how can I be supportive? What do you need from me? And just be able to communicate that to him, I think makes such a huge difference, rather than just be like, yeah, I'm lucky that, you know, he just does it. He doesn't do it if I don't ask. You know, if I don't ask. It's true though.
Yeah.
It's true though. I think people think that it's just going to happen. Well, no, if you don't ask, then, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. And the same, like, if you don't ask permission from yourself to enjoy the things that you want to do, or to even try something different and something new, then you're never going to get over that hurdle of doing it, because you're always going to think, I can't do it, or it's never going to happen. Well, what happens if you just give it a go? What happens if you just step into a class? What happens if you decide that you're just going to pick up a paintbrush? And, you know, you don't know until you actually do it. And I think often we talk ourselves out of doing something before we've even tried. Yeah, before we've even tried to do it.
It's like that saying, feel the fear and just do it anyway.
Yes, that was one of the first books I read about 10 years ago.
And also, it's even with me and you and stuff, you always say, God, you just go and do it, Isla. And
our next event, you're like, are we ready? I was like, no, we're going to book it today and then we can just do it.
And I think you've got to, in your head, like, give yourself that 5, and it's another book we've read, like that 5-second rule of when that fault, just go and do it. Like, because in that, after that 5 seconds, you're going to talk yourself out of it, because all them thoughts like, come in.
I'm too tired today, I've had a hard day. Just do it and you feel better.
It's that fight or flight. So like, as humans, we're born with that fight or flight. So, you know, it's easy because all the anxiety comes in about that, and then you question it, and it is natural, but that what you've got to do and learn to do is overcome that, and have that positive affirmation of, I can do this, I will do this, and just go for it. And even when I set up like the performing arts school, it wasn't, I mean, like, when I even thought of the name, it was like a dream, and I didn't know what name to do it, and I had this dream, and I felt like someone gave me this name, and it was like I could see a big boom box, and I was like, oh yeah, boom Arts Academy, and it was in my dream. But I had all this fear about, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if this? And then you just got to go for it. And like you, I started off with 2 people in a class, and it was like that for like 6 months, and then I just grew from there. So I think, it's very easy to talk yourself out of a situation, but I think it's just that confidence to just go, I can do this, and talking to yourself out. And I love that way you say doing it out loud, because a lot of the time I do like visualizations, but I'll say it in my head, but actually out loud is a lot more powerful. I do think.
You're putting it out there. When you say it out, when you put it in your head, when you say it in your head, you're kind of, you can almost second guess it. You know, you can almost like erase it from your mind. Whereas when you actually say it out loud, you're almost affirming what you said. You've said to yourself, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So I think it is a really great way to convince yourself to do something. And I also would say that, like, especially for anyone who's doubting if they should, you know, book a class or try a new skill, rather than thinking about, you know, what happens if you fail or what happens if you don't like it, just think about just doing it in the moment. I think being in the moment. Often we spend a lot of time agonizing about the before, you know, like before we make that decision, we spend so much time agonizing about that, and then we think about the after as well, like, okay, what if I go to it and I don't like it? Or what if you just go? What if you just go and just do it, and then see what happens afterwards? Because, and I do say that for some people, if they go to, they're like, oh, I really want to try samba, but I'm really scared. And I'm like, just try it. And it might not be for you, and that's okay as well. That's not, I'm not saying that everyone in the world should learn how to samba, but if you try something and it's not for you, then, you know, okay, you can do something else. And I think what was really nice is I had a message recently from a woman in my DMs, and she tried a samba class, but she said it was so difficult that she then ended up booking onto a bachata class, and she loved it. So she's been doing that. And I was like, that's great. You know, that's great. And I love the fact that you threw yourself into something, realized that it was really, really difficult, but you still wanted to move. So you thought, what else can I do? And she said if she hadn't have booked herself into Samba, she never would have found that bachata class, because that company did other classes, and she never would have put herself out there to be able to do the. So I was like, that's amazing. And I love the fact that she's done that. And I'm like, please send me updates, because I want to see how you're doing.
Oh, it's lovely.
And not only that, it's just so good for your mental health, whatever you do, just moving. And like you said about women earlier, women empowering women, we talked about this on Sunday, didn't we, at the retreat? And we said, like, when women come together, we're so powerful. And it's actually like it's amazing feeling, isn't it? Because you feel like, and exactly the same with you, if you've got that one person that is negative, you can, and it makes you feel a bit uneasy, doesn't it? Like, so
especially like, do you remember the WhatsApp groups? If one person on a WhatsApp group makes a, and then it's like a herd of people, and I'm like, I've got to get off this. So
and I'm the same. Like, I've got to get off that train, but it's staying on that train with them, empowering people around you. And I just think everybody then comes on that journey with you. And it's like I said, it was so good for your mental health, just moving in any kind of way, isn't it? Because just releasing them endorphins.
What are your plans for the future? Where do you see it going?
That is a great question. And honestly, like, I thought, I agonized about that in December, because it was coming to the end of the year, and I was losing sleep thinking about what I was going to do, how I was going to grow the business and everything. And I decided to actually not think about it. Only because if it was stressing me out, it's never going to happen. So I thought, right, in Jan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of ease myself back in. I'm going to establish the classes that I want to do and try and find some balance. So for me, this year is all about balance. And I want to make sure that I have good balance. So I've got my 2 classes. I want to bring back my classes in Croydon, because I had those. I want to start some Samba classes in London and also in Croydon as well, and just find a timetable that I'm really happy with, that I'm able to do and deliver, as well as, you know, just be a mum, which is the thing that I love doing the most. So I just want to find balance. So when people do ask me, like, what's my plan for the future? My plan for the future is not to kill myself looking for this opportunity and that opportunity. My plan for the future is just to keep inspiring myself, keep pushing myself, and to find that balance that I'm looking for, to make sure that I don't lose sight of why I got into this in the first place, which was to rediscover who I am.
It's so hard, isn't it? Because I think this is exactly sort of why we wanted you on the podcast as well, because when you have children, I think it's so hard to go back to a 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 in London. You miss a lot of the children growing up or doing the school activities. So what you've created is something that can work around the children, which I think is so inspiring. It's hard to do, but what were you doing before, if you don't mind me asking, to make you think, right, I don't want to do that anymore, I want to start with my dancing, my passion?
So before I was working, so I worked as a social media manager for the Red Cross. I worked for the Red Cross for a couple of years. Before that, I worked for Spitalfields Market. I worked for the government as well. So I've basically worked within marketing for like over 10 years. And that was just like 9 till 5 every day, like non-stop. And it just got to the stage where I was like, there must be something that I can do that allows me to be more involved in my children's lives and to be able to kind of to inspire people to feel the way I feel about movement and fitness and joy. And this was the answer to that question that I had.
Because when you have children, I think there's such a powerful breed of women. We don't just lose our skills that we've learned throughout our 20s before we've had children or whatever. They're still there. But there's so many companies that just don't offer the opportunities for maybe a 10 till 2 job or a half till 2 in between school hours, which would be so beneficial for companies as well. But then you can do the school run, be around your children. I I feel like starting up a recruitment company, if there's any employers out there. But it would, wouldn't it? Because then you can still do it. So we're using all our skills to create our own entrepreneurial journeys, which I think is amazing in itself as well. And we're teaching our children that, because you know what I find really difficult? The other day they were like, can you fill out a form? They said, what is your profession? And I find it really hard to write down mum, which I am, which that's a really important job in itself as well. And I have to put like business owner or landlord or whatever, but it's like in my head I have to justify putting down mum is enough, being a mum, which is such a solid role as well.
Yeah. And it's a role that like not everyone understands, like understands it. And there are so many skills you get from being a mum that people can't seem to kind of grasp and understand. The fact that, you know, there's a level of like emotional intelligence that you have to be able to support your kids and understand, you know, what they're going through. There's the balancing act of keeping the house, you know, in order, keeping everyone else in order. So that's like that's project management as far as I'm concerned. That's
oh my god, unpaid as well, voluntary.
Right, it's project management, unpaid. You're a therapist as well, that's unpaid.
Therapist,
hairdresser.
Oh my gosh, hairdresser, unpaid hairdressing. Oh, that is, you know, the amount of times that Uber driver without the pay as well. There's so many things that you have to do that you just don't get, people just don't see. I would say that the last job that I had actually at Marie Curie, they were so great in accepting the fact that, you know, the dancing was my passion, and they did give me the flexibility to work and do the dance, but they were like, but only in one condition, that you make us all jiggle in the office. So I was like, fine.
Oh, that's great.
That's really fine. They're like, you can't just go around teaching other people and not teach us.
That's great. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, sure.
We're up probably on this one, but like are you open to like the law of attraction, and have you felt like since going on this journey you've had stuff like attract to you without you like going, oh my god, that's weird, that just happened? And it like, because I feel like we all have a journey in our life, and I feel like upstairs, as in like the spirit world, knows our journey. Do you feel like on this journey, like things have come and you're like, oh, well, that happened, and maybe I this is my new path, like is there
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think there have been opportunities that have come about that I never looked for or was like seeking, but they've just kind of come up, and I've been like, oh, okay, maybe that's something that I should do. I think one of the biggest ones, so when I started learning samba and I got to a stage where I thought I was like decent, I met one of my current samba teachers, Yuli, and I said to her, I will feel successful. This is going to sound really weird, but I was like, I know that I feel successful when people watch me dance and they think I'm Brazilian. And she was like, right. I was like, that's going to be my indicator of success. When people look at my videos and they're like, is she Brazilian? Where is she from? This is what's going to happen. And last year I had a video of mine went viral, and I had a Brazilian TV channel message me because they thought I was Brazilian.
Oh my god.
Wow.
And they ended up coming to my house, did an interview, and it turned out to be like the second biggest TV channel in Brazil.
Wow.
And they did like a 4-minute feature on TV about me because I was I was a samba dancer that wasn't Brazilian but looks Brazilian. And I was like, how insane is that? Like, honestly, how insane is that?
That is crazy.
That was my really, really weird goal. And I was like, I don't know how that's ever going to be validated. Like, and I never thought about it. I just put it out there and I said, you know what, let's just see what happens. And Yuli was like, what are the chances that you get interviewed, right? You get interviewed by a Brazilian TV channel because they think you're Brazilian when you dance the samba, and now you're like, tick. But I never thought I was going to tick that box, and I never forced myself to tick that box either. I just kept enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. But yeah, so when that happened, I was like, okay, am I Brazilian now?
It's so mad. And also the fact that you said it out loud as well, like you said that to someone, and it's just like that was just brought to you, that message like was just brought to you, and that validation. And that, I feel like also when you get that validation, it's just proving that you're on the right path. You're doing what you're meant to do on this earth plane, and it's just getting them little reminders to go, yeah, you're doing the right thing here.
Definitely.
Oh my
so
God.
Carry on.
I'm so excited. And also, that's amazing about that Brazilian. I actually saw that on your Instagram as well. So anybody who's watching, you can watch Nana on her Instagram. So it's at JiggleFit and at This Black Woman Can, isn't it? Yeah. Oh my God, Nana, you were so amazing.
See you at the dance school.
Yeah.
And thank you, because I feel like women listening to this today,
very inspiring.
and especially before the weekend, I think the biggest thing I'm going to go is like start talking to myself out loud.
Yeah.
And actually, do you know what's funny enough? This morning I watched a little clip on, you know, like where you see a Facebook thing, and it was Jim Carrey on the Ellen show, and he said like this lady told him to go through his rosary beads and ask, he wanted this Harley bike when he was younger, and it was a green one, and he said I went for it every night and I said it out loud, and he said his friend put his ticket into a raffle without him knowing, and his parents couldn't afford it at the time, and he came downstairs into the living room and there was the bike.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was like, how is this here? His friend put his name in the raffle without him knowing.
He's quite strong at manifesting.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I watched some of his story. He's so crazy. But he's always on the Ellen show, and I love the Ellen show as well. I love all of that. But like manifesting and things like that, I feel like if you are in a really high vibration and love yourself, like, you know, and can really value yourself, I feel like anything you want in life will just come to you naturally.
Yeah.
The world's your oyster.
The world's your oyster. Yeah,
definitely. 100%.
Love it. Thank you so much, Nana. Hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and thanks for listening, and thank you for your time, Nana. We really appreciate it.
Do.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.